Also, fun fact, the ancient Greeks that these people like to bring up to try to validate their bigotry would be horrified. Would be horrified that their ancient worlds and cultures are being used to prop up white supremacy. Because you need to understand, the ancient world didn't even have the concept of race the way we did. They more had concepts of like tribes and villages and cultures and bloodlines that way. But you need to think about who the actual ancient Greeks were, especially because these guys like to bring up Athens all the time. You know what Athens was most notable for? Creating democracy. Do you know what one of the first earliest forms of government in Athens was? It was this system in which every year 500 common people were brought into this council to vote on stuff with the rich and the elites that led the city. And eventually, thousands and thousands and thousands of common people got to serve and be a part of government and actually affect things in Athens. So why is a fascist government trying to bring Athens into it as some kind of like validation or justification when what they're doing is literally the opposite of what Athens would have stood for? Unless you're talking about the tyrants that took over Athens, maybe that's what they're comparing themselves to, because also, fun fact, the word tyrant comes from ancient Athens. And you know what a tyrant was? Someone who came over and disrupted democratic process, and harmed people. As a matter of fact, the first tyrants of Athens weren't even as bad as what's happening in the United States right now. But all that aside, you also need to just take into the fact that Greek was a multicultural world. Even the Greeks, by city-states, each city-state was technically its own culture that had its own cultures, its own beliefs, its own gods, its own languages. And homosexuality, trans living, all that kind of stuff, that was just a natural part of their world. They didn't even really have words for it because it was just a natural human thing. So unless those bald, illiterate tyrants who want to keep bringing up Athens intend on leading their lives as Athenians, I think that maybe they should just shut their mouths about ancient Greece, because they clearly know nothing about ancient Greece.